Welcome to WritingAlong.com. Today's episode is all about novels, books in general that you write, books with your name on it. They're, in a sense, status symbols. A lot of people, when they reach a certain level of, if you didn't know, I have a little toy piano. I put this laptop in to level everything. That's the sound you just heard. There's a lot of famous people out there who put out a book, and you never expect them to be a writer, right? You never expect them to. And a lot of the time it's ghostwriters. That's kind of besides the point, but again, people put out books because it's a tomb for them. It's something that will live on a lot more than their own legacy of just being present physically speaking and being seen in different places can ever live. I mean, everyone knows, the internet eventually is going to die out. It's going to take on a new formation, new everything. Like, it's just going to take on a different appearance than whatever we see it as now. But as it is now, everyone has their profiles, they live there, but that's not forever. That's not going to last. Even channels, stuff like this. Why do you think I put it out as a podcast too, as blog posts? But even then, I know it's for the people who see it when they see it, like you right now, or hear it when they hear it. A book, though, is something that exists outside of all that. It exists in however many corners of the world it'll find itself in. And that's something really amazing because no one can really take that away from you. It's a symbol, it's an icon for your life. And with your name on it, it really represents something larger than you, larger than yourself. There's a sense of exclusivity because not everyone has a book, and if they're gonna get one, they're gonna pay for one. That takes some resources, that takes a little bit out of your pocket, even if you're relatively, rich in terms of that kind of aspect of resources. But still, even then, it's a price you gotta pay. And to write your own book, I mean, that's like creating value for yourself. It's like creating this luxury good for yourself. Luxury is just a great storytelling, and if your entire object that you've created is the literal embodiment of storytelling, what do you think you're going to get? You're going to get this super valuable item. It doesn't mean you're going to sell these copies for 1,000 each. Good luck with that. I mean, you're probably going to have to just look at whatever books are selling for and align yourself with that. But in terms of like real value, deterministic value, intrinsic value that you have made with a book that's your own, you can't put a price on it, really. It's because it lives beyond, it lives outside of humans. Your stories might continue to be told and passed down way after you've lived, way after your grandchildren have lived. You can't predict that kind of stuff. I mean, look at all the stories that still exist from ancient Greece, way back, as far back as you can go when writing existed. There's always been these stories that were told, and that is something that lives and passes throughout time. No disease, no famine, no war or anything can really get rid of that. And especially now with the massive amount of copies you can print at once, it's almost crazy that more people aren't utilizing it. But I guess you can't. That's the nature of it. You learn it from someone who has done it before, and they can teach you how to do it as well. And that's what I want to teach you too, that you can create your own books, you can write your own books, and utilize the resources that are around you, that are here already for you to write. Because otherwise, you don't want to go floating through your life without at least even realizing that you could write a book, that you could leave something behind with your name on it. It's not even just about leaving something behind. I mean, let's think about the present. While you're alive, a book does kind of open certain doors in your life. People go, wow, you wrote something. I have a video on whether to use a pseudonym or a real name. And the thing is, often you worry, like, what are people going to think about what I wrote? But that's not even the question. Most people are just really, like, stoked to hear, like, whoa, you wrote a book? You wrote a book like that? Wow, like, respect for that kind of thing. It's like it sets the context for you before you even say anything. It takes precedence over what you might even already be thinking or want to say in a conversation or in an introduction. If someone's an author, that means something. It doesn't mean that's all you are. There's a lot more to you, but it makes what there is to you even more interesting. Like, whoa, you're this, that, you do all that, and you're an author? Like, what? It's crazy because, again, you don't often meet people who have written books. So when you yourself are the person who has written one or written multiple, it stands out, and people remember that. People keep that in their mind when they make decisions, when they're doing things, it inspires them in their own lives to do certain things that maybe they thought they couldn't, because they're like, wow, this person wrote a book. That takes dedication. That takes something and that's something that isn't, you don't have. It's something you already have in you. It's just you kind of need that guidance. You need that immersion, which is why I do this. I'm doing this 100 days of writing advice. You think I didn't think about shortening it after video 50? It's exhausting, but 100 videos is what I said I'm going to do, and that's what we're doing here. That because I know that immersion, just involving your mind in so much writing content and something singular, something with one direct, like one element, one, you could say a derivative, or an action, a directive, singular, this force, this consistency, and immersion is what seeps it into your mind and really gets the message across. You can watch one of these videos, listen to one of these episodes, and maybe it will spark something, but it's when you know, let your mind kind of exist within multiple. And, sometimes they might say the same thing because the concepts are so related, but it's that kind of action, that proactiveness. There is a time as a writer when you won't be writing, you're going to be listening, you're going to be reading, you're going to be hearing this kind of stuff. And this is what's going to allow you to, when you finally get to the page, you're not even really going to need this. You're just going to be like, okay, I get it. I know what to do now. All this stuff that I can't recite it by memory. I don't need it. You shouldn't. You should never recite these things I say by memory. That they'll trigger their own processes in your brain so that you know what to do when you get there on the page. When you're writing your book, you won't be there in doubt or with some kind of question that is unanswerable. You'll be able to answer your own questions. And that's why, as a writer, you can create these things. You can create a book for yourself with your name on it. And you'll see what it means in your life. You'll see that it will take it'll be standing in front of you. It's the equivalent of that. Like, I am me. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm just a regular human being, but I have a book. And you don't even have to say it. People will bring it up for you. People are the advocates of it because they themselves, they'll be impressed with it and not like, oh, look at me, I'm so great, I have a book. But you won't even be saying anything and people will already be excited for you. And that'll just kind of continue the motivation to do other things in your life. Like, wow, I was able to do that. And that's also what it symbolizes too, this kind of deterministic motivation, self-driven kind of attitude that you would already possess. It speaks to your abilities to stick with something. It sticks to your abilities to be able to say you're going to do something and actually do it, which is hard to come by in this world, but among people. But if you're the one who's able to do that, wow, wouldn't you love to know someone who can stick to their word? Wouldn't you love to know someone who says, I'm going to do something, this task, it's really difficult, it's going to take a lot of me, but I'm going to do it. And they did it. Wouldn't you like to know someone like that? Wouldn't you like to be around someone like that and associate yourself with someone like that? Because it says something about you as a person because you know them and you're around them. And that's the kind of, you can call it law of attraction, you can call it all these things, right? But really, and at its core, it's interesting. It's interesting to say you wrote a book. It's onto this idea of status symbol. It's not just a status symbol. That's not why you're writing it. But you'll find that the result of having one is kind of like that. When it's in print, when you walk into your home and there it is sitting on the shelf. There are multiple books of yours sitting on the shelf. You walk into someone else's home, it's there. They bought a copy of your book, it's sitting on their desk at home. And they don't really think twice of it, but it's there. It's there in people's private places of living. It's entered in, and your words are permeating through their lives. Whether they're reading it or not, it's there. And you don't just leave anything in your house. You don't just allow anything in. You don't just allow anything in your life. But I'm telling you, a book symbolizes something. It's a representation. And that's why people will seek out. They'll hire someone to write a book for them because they know that whether they've thought about it this consciously or not, everyone kind of is tuned into this idea of, wow, a book is something a little serious. The topic doesn't have to be serious, but the very idea of it it's intense. Who writes their own book? No one, right? So again, if you're around a lot of writers and they feel like a lot of people are doing it, which is sometimes discouraging. Everybody's doing it. What's the point? But in reality, come on, no, not many people are. If you talk to most people, they're like, I don't know someone who's written a book, or especially like a work of a fiction or autobiography, memoir. Even those kinds of things are rare. They're a little more common, but they're still not frequently a reality of people's lives. it just doesn't happen. It takes time. It takes resources. It takes that internal dedication that you cannot buy. You can develop it within yourself, and when people see it, I really see it as the equivalent of someone's built some kind of empire in their life, and you go, "Wow, that's interesting. I could see it." A book is just like that, and you go, "Wow, I can see it," but it's not really tied to your certain things that limit you. Like if you're going to build a financial asset empire, most likely, some people in your life had some kind of background in that. Not always, but it helps, right? A book, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter where you were born to, what body you were born to, what life, what person you inhabit, what name you possess. You can write a book and create this world, this life, this existence for yourself. If you're actually interested in writing a book, I do have this guide on my website, writingalong.com. I teach you how to write a book, what it takes really to write a book. You can find all kinds of 10 steps to this, just do that, and you'll have a book in no time. It's a little more than that. You got to actually stick with it, and that guide is going to get you there sticking with it. So writingalong.com, go check it out, send it to your inbox. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode.